So I'm Scott Haaland. I am product manager for application integration. And I have with me today Pramodh, Ramesh, who's also on our product management team with me. And we have a special guest speaker from Accenture, Mohamed Esmat, and he's going to also share a customer story with us today. So we're excited about that. Here's our agenda. We're going to go through connectivity. Connectivity is always a big part of integration. The infusion of Gen AI and how that's impacting integration services that we offer at Google, and specifically application integration, a new service that we just launched. We'll share some customer stories from Accenture, and then talk about what's next, some exciting things coming up on the roadmap. So here's the problem that we find that our customers are having. Large organizations have upwards of 500 applications, and these applications all need to be integrated in some way with each other, with systems of record that might be old legacy systems on premises, with SaaS applications, with custom-built applications. And so getting these integrations built is a big challenge for customers. We've seen more and more SaaS adoption happening as well. So we see this problem just getting bigger and bigger as we go. There's 181 zettabytes of data created, is the estimate for 2025. So there's a huge amount of data. I'm going to just move this mic a little bit and see if that works better. To the right, middle. OK, we'll see if that works better. Sorry about that. So imagine this. You have all those applications in your ecosystem already. Let's have Gen AI create a bunch more applications. This is what we're predicting is going to happen. Now you're going to have even more applications that fall into this integration problem space. So we're looking forward to helping customers with this problem as well. In addition, there's a set of sprawling integration tools for different areas of integration, which can lead to a lot of confusion. There's different tools used for data integration, for application integration. You might have middleware tools that old ESBs that are on premises. You might have 2 or 3 iPaaS tools in your toolkit. So having a common platform to pull all of this together in one place can be very, very helpful for your enterprise. We think GCP is that right platform for you to pull all of this integration data together. So your digital assets are the primary value. However, those are spread among 500 applications. So you've got digital assets for your marketing systems in a marketing cloud, possibly. You've got sales data in a sales cloud. You've got your finance data in an ERP system. Right? Those digital assets are very valuable to your company. You need to deliver a valuable product and service to your customers. And the only way that you can do that is by accessing those digital assets through integration. So here are some of the tools that we have in our tool bag of GCP for integration services. And believe it or not, this is not even a comprehensive list of tools. We have Apogee for API management. We have application integration for real-time business transaction processing integration. We have Scheduler for invoking batch processes, PubSub for messaging, workflows for serverless orchestration, tasks for async jobs, and of course we have Dataflow, Dataproc, Cloud Data Fusion for bulk data processing and ETL. So we have a huge set of integration services available to our customers. What we're going to do today is focus in on one of these boxes, which is application integration. So let's talk a little bit about application integration and some of the features that we have. We start off with a visual integration designer. It's drag and drop. It's low code. You can build quickly the integration flow that you need between your applications. And plug-and-play connectors make it easy for you to drag in the connector that you need for the task, pull out the data from a system, update data in another system, call an API in another system, right? And all of this is being done with low code. We also offer versatile tasks and transformations, which are all low code. So you drag in the task, and then you just configure it, instead of having to write a bunch of code for these transformations. It's a cloud-native managed service, so it's hosted by Google, run by Google. For you, it's the experience of using application integration is like using a SaaS application. You log in, you create your integration, you publish it, and it's running. You don't have to worry about runtime, scaling. All of those things are taken care of by Google. Let's look at how it works. We always start with a trigger. The trigger might come from PubSub, for example, as a message-based trigger. It could come from Apigee or some other application as an API trigger. It could come from Salesforce or other applications as a change data capture trigger. Or it could come from Zendesk, Jira Cloud. It could be scheduled to run once a day, once an hour. So these are the triggers that always start an integration. Once the integration is started, then it'll go through an orchestration layer. This is where you drag the processing blocks into your integration. You can do data mapping. You can do things like looping. You can make decisions based on data contents for filtering and routing. There's usually a connector involved. You need to look up data from a system. You need to update data in another system. So you drag a connector in as part of your processing. You might even do other steps after that connector. So you can start putting this flow together so that it makes the job easy for you, which normally would be a lot of custom code that you'd have to write and then maintain over time. So we have built-in controls for advanced orchestration. We try to make hard jobs simple. For example, there's a scatter-gather pattern, which is very common. You may have a batch file that you want to process. You want to do it more quickly, and so you can start off parallel threads with our for each parallel task, and then we can wait for all of those threads to finish, and you get a result of a collection of the results back. So instead of that process maybe taking a minute or two to process, it might only take 3 or 4 seconds because you've been able to do it in parallel. It's as simple as dragging the for each parallel task onto your palette and configuring it. So instead of writing, who knows how many hundreds of lines of code to do that, it's very simple. So that's just one example of the kind of orchestration that we can do. You can also do retries as a configuration, custom messages, error handling, all with drag and drop. It's tailored for your use case, so you drop into code when needed. We provide punch-outs to JavaScript, to Cloud Functions, so you can write in Go or Java or Python as well, because we know that low code isn't always going to be able to solve the most complex problems. So we're trying to balance that mix of giving you a low code experience, but then giving you the outlet to be able to drop into code when you really need to. We ensure high resilience and availability. We're in 23 different data regions in 5 continents, and we can add ourselves to other GCP regions as there's demand as well. So we take advantage of the GCP ecosystem as well. We're plugged into cloud monitoring, cloud logging, secret manager, and IAM, just to mention a few. We also have connectors into a bunch of GCP services as well. That's coming up in a few slides. So you can automate your business processes. There's a lot of manual processes that people are doing. You have that swivel chair approach where you take data from one system and then type it into another system, cutting and pasting, right? We can help you to automate those flows so that when something is changed in one system, it automatically flows to the other system, gets transformed along the way, and you can make sure that people aren't spending that manual effort to do that. You can connect to your systems with plug-and-play connectors. And we've worked with customers on several different use case areas. So you'll see the bubbles on the bottom of this chart. We've categorized these use cases into different major categories like sales. A lot of people want to do sales automation, service, marketing, HR, supply chain, project management. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a million different use cases that you can implement with this tool. This is just some of the common ones. And your use case may fall outside of these as well. So we have many third-party connectors. We have 75 connectors right now, and we're adding more and more every quarter. So we also have connectors to Google Cloud Services. And this makes it much easier for you to connect into things like Translate and Doc AI and Vertex AI. Imagine being able to orchestrate and automate your Gen AI right into your business process. So when data is being updated in one system, you can have it flowing through Vertex AI to do something like a summarization, for example, before it gets loaded into another system of record. We also have connectors which are in preview. And you can see a list of icons here for preview connectors. These are the ones that are coming up next. And if you're interested in any of these, we can actually turn that on for you. So let us know if you want to try it out, especially if you want to give us feedback on whether it's working or not for your use case. And we can basically allow list your GCP project for that. OK, I'm actually going to hand it over to Pramodh. Oh, I'm going to do my demo next. Sorry, forgot. I'm going to just switch the screen here. OK, so I'm going to just play a video because we've been having some interesting networking issues. We're going to go through a use case where we're going to drop a PDF file into GCS. We're going to run it through our integration using a pub/sub trigger. We're going to run it through Docs AI to digitize that and then insert it into two systems of record. One is Salesforce, and the other one is BigQuery. You can see here the logical diagram. We're going to get that file from GCS through pub/sub. Actually, GCS has a way to notify pub/sub when a new file arrives. That sets off our trigger. Then we're going to send it to Docs AI. We're going to go first get the file from GCS connector, send it to Docs AI, and then we will update Salesforce and BigQuery using our connectors. OK, so this is the medical claim form that we're going to drop in as a file. It's a paper document. Maybe this was scanned in by a printer scanner, which is plugged into GCS. Maybe someone drug it from an email onto their desktop and then loaded it to GCS. Somehow it arrived in GCS. We're going to take that, and then we're going to send it to Docs AI. So this is what the claim form looks like. You can see it has a name, address, some identifiers. It's got an invoice number here with this invoice that's attached. It ends in 342. Let's remember that for later. And then there are, you can see the total amount was $500. So now we're going to run through the process. This is the GCS bucket that we're going to eventually drop it into. And now we're going to switch over to application integration. And you can see this drag and drop experience that I've been talking about. So at the top, you see the document trigger. This is actually a pub/sub trigger that notifies us that the document arrived. We go to the GCS connector, and we download the file from GCS. Then we call out to Docs AI, and we do what's called a classification. We're wanting to check to make sure this is really a medical invoice. If it is, we make a decision and say we're going to process that. If it's not, we send someone an email and say we got some file that does not look like a claim, right? So now we're going to, once it's decided that it's a proper claim, we're going to send it to Docs AI to get it digitized. So Docs AI is going to scan that in. It actually returns to me this huge JSON payload with all the data that it has scanned in from the PDF. I use my data mapper to pull data out of that. One of the things I look for is the amount. And if the amount's greater than $1,000, I'm going to go to a manual approval. If it's less than $1,000, I'm going to just assume it's auto-approved. That's going to go to Salesforce if it goes on the approval path. And if it's not on the approval path, we're going to notify someone. But we're going to, regardless of whether it's approved or not, we're going to insert it into BigQuery so we can do analytics on that later. OK, so that's kind of the overall flow of the process. You can see this is very easy to just kind of read through and see what's happening. Now we're going to go to GCS, and we're going to upload that file into GCS. So this member43.pdf has the contents that we saw earlier with the medical claim form. OK, that's been uploaded now. That's going to send a notification to pub/sub that a new file was created in GCS. That's going to set off our pub/sub trigger that you see at the top. And now what we're going to do is look in the logs. You can see that there's many instances of this integration that have run. We're going to drill into this first one, which is at the top, which is the latest one that ran. And you can see every processing step that's happened. We could also drill into one of these steps, and we can see all the variables and the values of those variables as they were set, which is very handy for debugging. Now we're switching over to Salesforce, and we're going to refresh the screen, and we can see that this new claim for Prince Charles showed up. You can see that the address was picked up, the invoice total, the invoice amount, as well as the invoice number ending with 342. And then if we go to BigQuery, we can see that it also showed up in BigQuery. So we went from dragging and dropping on the screen to being able to run this in just a few minutes. One other thing I want to show you is just some of the options that are available to you with our triggers and tasks. So you can see here, yep, good, you're seeing it on the screen. I have an API trigger, I have a pub sub trigger, a scheduling trigger, Salesforce, Zendesk, Jira Cloud, etc. All of these are available to start your flow. These are some of the tasks that are available. You remember we talked about the Google connectors. You can see we have a whole category of artificial intelligence connectors here. We have data manipulation, so we can do data mapping, data transformation via scripts, as well as a JavaScript task where you can drop into code. We can also call app script, or any generic public REST endpoint can be called here from this REST task. There's connectors. This is how we access all of our connectors. There's some preview features here as well. You can call workflows. There's approval tasks. We saw that approval task earlier. That'll actually suspend the process and wait for a human being to come and approve that. These are the advanced constructs that we talked about, like for each parallel, while loop. So there's several different ways that you can do looping. Some workspace connectors for Drive and Sheets. Security, Cloud KMS, Secret Manager, Firestore, data flow, and you can also do a return test. This is part of our error handling, where you can set the HTTP response code if you want to return an error to your client. OK, with that, I am going to invite my colleague Pramodh to come up. And Pramodh is going to share some exciting news about some new features that we're working on that are coming soon.
Thank you, Scott. I usually don't need a mic, but it's 4:45, 5 o'clock on a second day of a conference, so we're all tired. You have come all the way to attend this conference. It will be not fair on me to talk about what's next, right? Like you saw how cool it was to go and drag and drop, integrate and automate your business process, connect your systems in a matter of minutes. Now, let's take it and level it up one more, right? This is where the power of Gen AI comes up, right? So what we are going to, this is what you'll be able to see as part of the Trusted Tester program which we are launching. Let's see how it is going to change how integrations are being built. You should be able to go out and build what Scott showed you in the demo by just using a prompt, which means that you don't need to actually know all the tools, all the navigations required. You could actually go out and say, oh, I need to go out and process this MEDIC claim, and it should be able to go out and generate the actual orchestration or the automation flow just from the prompt. That's pretty simple, but that's not the actual differentiator, or that's not the moat. The moat is how it is context aware. You would have seen in Thomas' keynote yesterday how important the context was. It actually can understand your enterprise schemas, your enterprise APIs, your apps, your systems. Like, for example, if you use Salesforce, it will actually only prompt you to Salesforce instead of prompting you to HubSpot as a CRM. So it is actually going to go build a flow, not like any generic what you'll get from ChatGPT, but it is actually context aware to go out and tell you that this is what is needed to get work done within your enterprise. Okay, so you got your flow, you got the differentiator with respect to having enterprise context. It's just not that. It is not always that you interact with Gen AI through prompts. It becomes like unnatural, although it's through natural language. It is about how AI proactively helps you in getting your task done. Like, how many of you as integration specialists hate to write test cases, right? Like, imagine that test cases is so important to ensure that there is consistency when you move from one version to another. All of that, thanks to Gen AI, is automated, which means that we could actually go and create test cases, save you a bunch of time automatically by just using Gen AI. Okay, this is good. What I'm going to do this is, given that I am between you and drinks, I'm going to actually show you this through a demo. And for the demo, I'm going to use a fictitious company here, except it's not a cocktail company. It's a coffee company. So assume that it's a Cloud9 coffee bean company. It's a boutique shop in Seattle who have been running. Now they are expanding beyond Seattle to other regions. They are undergoing a digital transformation, which involves APIs and automation, all of that. That's what I'm going to use as the scenario to show you the demo. And here, Emma is the integration specialist who has been tasked to actually automate your order management process. Like, for example, the order comes in, the coffee bean has to process that order to actually go ahead and send that to shipment, right? Like typical boutique coffee shops which actually operate. That's what I'm actually going to go ahead and show you demo now of how Gen AI is actually going to go ahead and help you build what this Emma wants to achieve here. Let me switch. Okay, so what you see on the screen is what is called as API Hub. It's a catalog of APIs. So one of the APIs which Cloud9 has already built is the purchase order API. Okay, so it's an API which actually accepts order incoming, and it has to go ahead and connect and integrate into their backend system to actually go ahead and place an order. All of that. That's what I'm going to use Gen AI to actually help me automate that particular process. But what I'm starting with is actually an API which is available here. So I'm going to go and click on integrations. I'm going to go ahead and, sorry. Live stuff. Just give me a second. Okay, thank you. So I am actually clicked on build integrations. What it actually told me is it listed all the operations which I want to actually start building. Like I'm going to choose here create a new purchase order, and I'm also going to go ahead and give a prompt. Please pay attention to the prompt here. That's the power of LLM. I'm going to say automate accepting orders using an incoming PDF. Okay, that's what I said, and the LLM actually can understand what the prompt is and will be able to go ahead and generate. When I click on confirm, it actually takes you to the automation flow which you saw with Scott. But a few things before we go to the flow itself. What it did, number one, it was able to automatically generate the name of the integration because it knew that you are starting from a purchase order API. So it said, okay, create order automation is what it did. That's not cool. But what it also did is it automatically got in all the variables and the schemas from the API into your integration, which means that it's consistent. It's not like it's using the same schema, same variables, same fields inside. That's what you will actually see here. So I'm going to go ahead and accept the name here, and I'm going to say it looks good. And you could see that it got in the purchase order object, it got the order output, all of that. This looks great. Before that, you could see that LLM Gen AI was able to generate the automation flow. Few things to note here. I just said incoming PDF. Okay? Using the PDF word, it was able to understand, oh, if it's a PDF, it needs to be digitized. It has to be extracted. It has to be orchestrated. That's what is actually going to, it automatically placed a doc AI, which is what you saw in Scott's demo. Okay? Not just that, it was also able to go ahead and suggest to me which application which I need to go ahead and connect to because it found an order object inside SAP. Okay? So it was actually go ahead and intelligent to go ahead and read your existing connections. This is where the enterprise context comes into picture. One of the key things which stands out is the last but one step which you see there, which is around shipping details or calculating the delivery date. I never mentioned calculate the delivery date in my prompt, but calculate delivery date is an enterprise API within your enterprise, and it also had an ability to take in order object as an input and calculate the delivery date or the shipment details, and it automatically suggested, oh, this may be involved in your automated order processing there. and it was able to summarize what it got generated, and I could actually look through other options, all of it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, great, confirm, cool, it got accepted, right? So I could actually go ahead and see the process. This is the most common problem of getting started. Like I did not need to know the tool, and what this helps is think about democratizing automation within your enterprise, which means that you don't need specialists, you don't need people with specialist knowledge of the tools and the systems to actually go and build integration. You could actually have people build integration with the help of GenAI. In this case, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and show you what it did. It did not just suggest SAP, it also configured SAP connection for me. Because it was already there, it was able to go and fetch in all the connectors. As you could see, the entity, if you pay attention to the entity, because purchase order was the entity, that's how it actually generated and did the mapping for me. Great, but I'm not satisfied because LLM is as accurate as it could be. It hallucinates. So I want, as I said, it's not always through prompts, right? The AI has to be embedded into your experience. So in this case, I'm going to ask LLM for suggestions. Okay, tell me what I should be replacing this with because SAP is not correct. So I could actually ask GenAI looking for suggestions. It actually goes through the refinement process with your enterprise context and says, oh, I do see a couple of more connections. In this case, as you could see, Salesforce is a CRM, but it's still suggesting Salesforce as a thing because of how LLM is. But I'm going to use NetSuite as my ERP here. So I'm going to go ahead and sue NetSuite. It automatically configured the connections which is required for doing NetSuite. As you could see here, it's NetSuite connections and all of that. Great. This is good. What next? Talking about embedded AI experience, I'm going to go ahead and look at the data mapping. If you have used integrations tools, you know the biggest pain point in doing any integration or automation is actually mapping. Okay, it's the heavy lifting job of actually mapping your source to the target. But here in this case, GenAI was able to automatically create a mapping for me. Okay, but as you could see, it did a mapping between order created to the order output, which is basically the order created was the object coming in from NetSuite, and it actually mapped to the order output, which was the API response back. Great, but it did miss out certain things. Here, for example, it never included the shipment details and all of that, okay? So this is where I could actually take the help of GenAI. Here, when I'm going to go ahead and ask it, okay, help me add more things into my mapping. It could be through a prompt, or it could be as simple as you could copy-paste your input-output object. Like you have an input, you have an output, copy-paste it, it will do the mapping for you. That's the power of LLM, which you will be able to experience as part of this trusted tester program, which is available. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a prompt. It's a complex prompt, okay? And this is what we tested. It says map delivery dates from shipment details object into the order output, but also, most importantly, calculate the total order value from the line items of the object, right? I never mentioned the order typically has line items, price, and quantity, right? And I want to calculate the total order value of the order being placed. And I just gave it a prompt. What it was able to do it was actually able to go ahead and not just generate the flow, which I can confirm, but I will show you that it was able to do the functions required as well. So what I'm going to do is, if you look at this function, it actually was able to go ahead and say that item into product into price, iterate through an array, calculate the total order value. Okay? Imagine if we have to do it, whatever be the language, whatever be the function, it could be pre-built function. Okay. So the exhibition hall will close in 15 minutes. Okay. So think about this complex function. Whatever knowledge you have to learn the code. It could be in Python, it could be in Go, all of it. But automatically, GenAI was able to go ahead and help it with doing the mapping. So one final thing before, so this is good with respect to mapping, but it's not only around flow generation. I could actually ask it to go ahead and help me with updating the flow. In this case, I want to actually go ahead and give a prompt to say that send me an email if the order quantity is more than 100 to the stocking department, right? That's what it did. It generated an additional flow automatically for me, which means that I could keep working with LLM as and when needed. I could take its help. It's not one time. It is part of your experience, which is embedded. Okay, this is all cool. One last thing which we saw, a couple of last things rather. One thing is around test. We talked about test. Here you could see LLM was proactive. I did not do anything. LLM was able to go and identify, oh, I am at a stage where I could actually go and generate test cases for your automation, right? So I'm actually going to go and click on this, and it automatically created test cases for me. Here I could see that it created, it created an order creation success. It created order duplicate, like zero quantity. You could ask it to create more, all of that, right? So next is, I'm just forwarding one more step. The last one is, how many of you, we talked about testing. Every one of us hate documentation, right? That's the last thing, or we never document, the documentation is poor. So how do we actually help you all go and create documentation? GenAI is able to go and help you with actually creating documentation. It's a similar experience what you would have been used to in Google Docs. It generates a full detailed description. You could actually go and use it, all other controls to go and say, okay, I need to bulletize this. I want to formalize it. In this case, I'm going to click on shorten, and it was actually able to go and reduce it. Looks good. I could actually go and add anything. I'm going to go and say insert and save, right? That's the power of GenAI. Now imagine this is the work which you do day in and day out, how it was able to accelerate. From creating base flow, it was creating documentation, creating integration, most importantly, with your enterprise context, right? Like it is not randomly saying, hallucinating, rather it is picking up your enterprise APIs, your applications, your systems, your connections, all of that put together. So with that, concludes what's next. You'll be able to sign up for all of these as part of the Trusted Tester program so that you could give us feedback whether it is working for you. And the Trusted Tester program is open right now. You could go and sign up. With that, I will actually welcome our partner of the year, Accenture, to talk about a customer story, how one of the customers down under leveraged Accenture to actually do a digital transformation using application integration. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pramodh, and welcome everyone to our session today. I appreciate it has been a long day, so I'm going to make this one short and to the point. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of our success stories at Accenture, delivering a cloud transformation program for one of our clients based out of Australia. I'm also going to shed the light on a couple of use cases, integration use cases, what were the tools that we've used, and why. Firstly, want to emphasize on how highly we value the relationship with Google and how highly we invest in it. And we are so grateful for the award that we've got from Google over the course of the years, and the most recent one yesterday being the Global Services Partner of the Year. And I think there were another 3 other awards that we've earned. So thanks, Google, and thanks, Accenture, for investing in thousands of professionals and certifications on Google Cloud. Our client for today is Lendlease. They are a global real estate organization valued at nearly $6 billion. They are headquartered in Australia, Sydney, but they are operating in several parts of the world. And I'm sure some of the projects on the screen right now might sound familiar to many of the people here right now. They have been in business for more than 60 years, and they are managing funds and assets that are worth several billions of dollars. So let's talk more about the cloud transformation program and how did life look like at Lendlease prior to the transformation. They were running most of their workloads on-premise in 4 different data centers across 2 different continents. Lots of their business apps were siloed, slowing down respond to business. They had lots of legacy technologies that were slowing down the pace of change and holding them back from innovation. And moreover, they were also being on-premise, they had relatively less ability to scale. But with Google Cloud, they have been able to bake in scalability into their infrastructure. They got access to more cloud-native and modern technologies that help them accelerate innovation. They have also launched some digital arm called Podium. I encourage you, if you are in the real estate business, to have a look at them and follow them. They have also got access to modern integration tools that help them break the silos between business apps. And moreover, They have increased both financial and environmental sustainability, and I'm so proud of the latter, by the way. All right, overall value realized by Lendlease for that cloud transformation program, 158 apps moved to the cloud, 17% decrease in the overall IT cost, 50% decrease in the carbon emissions for the workloads running on the cloud versus those workloads were running on premise. And they have very ambitious, by the way, they have very ambitious plans for sustainability and an overall decrease in the IT integration platform. We can keep talking about the value realization, but I think we are here for mainly the integration. So I'm going to focus on the integration use cases. The first one was more around the data lake integration. And Lendlease have chosen Google BigQuery to be their platform for their big lake. They were looking for integrating data from multiple sources into BigQuery, do the necessary transformation for the different consumption, machine learning, visualization, actionable insights, etc. So for that, we've used Google Data Flow because of its native support for BigQuery, scalable, can scale up and down with your workloads, managed. You don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure. And if you are the CTO, CIO, head of engineering, you will love it. You invest in only one skill for your team, and you unlock lots of capabilities for your organization, managing structured, unstructured, batch, and stream data processing. I love it personally. The second use case was around application-to-application integration or application-to-application communication. And in that case, I'm going to talk about a specific example at Lendlease. At Lendlease, they have a platform that acts as a source of truth for project information and decision-making. As you might imagine, that's very crucial and important for a real estate organization. All other parts in the business are interested in the information about the projects and decisions made, etc. So for that, we used Google Application Integration together with other Google Cloud services to build an end-to-end solution to capture the changes in the source system as they occur and make it available for the other interested platforms and doing all the necessary transformation, whether to push it out to the interested platform or to make it available for the other platform to come in and pull for consumption. We used Google Application Integration because it's simply managed as a service. It can scale up and down. And again, it had all the connectors we needed for all our use cases. I'm going to share some of the best practices we learned along the way using Google Application Integration, and promise that will be the last slide. First, manage complexity. Make sure whenever you're using Google Application Integration is not to build highly complex integration. Break it down into smaller one and reusable whenever applicable. Second, maximize the value. And I think you have already seen in the demos how big is the value you get when you combine Google Application Integration with other Google Cloud services. Don't underestimate that value. The last one, PubSub is going to be your friend. If you're using Google Application Integration, PubSub is going to be your friend. Use it to glue all your application integration together. Make the most use out of the PubSub functions and features like Cloud Function triggering, message ordering, and dead letter topics, etc. With that, my part comes to an end.